Here we have a fiddle. What's the difference between a fiddle and a violin? The same as the difference between a car and a mobile. It's just a level of prestige terminology. I'll play the fiddle, and if I were in the symphony, I'd probably call it a violin. So this thing here is one that I built. I probably started building it in the late 60s. Back when I was trying to figure out how that would occur. You can get a book about how to build a violin, but watching somebody do it is worth a lot more. So I had two teachers who let me watch, and that teaching usually consists of watching in this kind of world. So I watched them carve out the back and the front and began to figure out how I would do the same. Now, if you hear noises in the background, that's our parrot, Homer, and he wishes he was in the room here, but we're not letting him in. The fiddle, it has to be made of something like maple, which is the back and the sides and the neck. And you see it has those tiger stripes because the grain of the tree was doing a little dance while it grew up the tree. And then the front has to be made of spruce, which is nothing but a Christmas tree. And the wood has to be not brand new cut down, or it would be full of juice. So you have to cut down a tree and wait about 7 years. This wood probably waited about 30 because I think the wood was cut down in the 1920s. And one of my teachers let me buy it for a reasonable price, and then I knew I was working on a nice old piece of wood. Speaking of old, one piece of wood in this fiddle here was born before Columbus set sail for the United States, which was, of course, just America. Cindy and I were out west at the Puget Sound, and up onto the beach washed this giant log, or had washed. The log was about 5 feet in diameter, so I walked up to the sawed-off end of it, and it was about as tall as I am. I started counting the rings, and I took the number of rings and subtracted them from the year 2006, and I got goosebumps because it said that this log was born in the year 1492. So I thought, well, I want to take the log home with me, and it was too heavy, too big, it was huge. But I whipped out my Swiss Army knife, and after about a half an hour I had carved out a hunk of it big enough to make the sound post, which is what goes from the top to the back inside the fiddle. So I had this 500-year-old sound post in there, and you know, once I put it in there, it really did seem to help the sound, and if the fiddle itself was that old, I'll bet it would sound twice as good as it does.